Good morning, world. I am Kyle Krajewski, joined by my good friend Mike here, and pretty soon we'll have our other good friend Zach joining in. And we're gonna mock. It's a great Thursday morning. Always a beautiful time for a mock. How are you this morning, Mike?
I'm doing good, Got half a cup of coffee in me, and I'm excited to go today. We're actually switching it up as well. No more standard leagues here. We're going Superflex today, so I'm excited to get those quarterbacks early now.
Oh yeah, just a good old fun and exciting super flex. Get those quarterbacks off the board early. And if you aren't sure what Superflex is, it just means that there is a flex spot where instead of just wide receiver, running back, tight end, you could also slot a quarterback there. So any given week, you can play two quarterbacks, which is I love it. I'm a big fan. I personally love some Superflex action. I don't know how you feel about it, Mike.
Yeah, I'm pretty big on Superflex.
Here,
I love it just because it makes everybody take quarterbacks early compared to like what we've been saying in our previous videos where we like to wait on quarterbacks. So it gives you a whole new kind of mock draft, and what's not to love about a new mock draft?
oh, big time. Yeah, allows you to do a little bit of a different experience in the drafting world because quarterbacks, I mean, we'll probably see it now. There will probably be 8 to 10 quarterbacks off the board in the first round. I promise you will not see that in any other league.
Hmm.
All right. So I'm drafting from pick one. Mike is at pick 11, and our good friend Zach is here at pick five. And he'll join us soon on the stream. You might see him next to Mike eventually. Uh, But let's get this thing underway. All
I'm
right.
ready.
So here I am, pick one. And honestly, it's a little bit of a tough decision. 101 super flex because you kind of have to choose between. I feel like it's either between Jonathan Taylor or Josh Allen. And I bet you, if you asked 50 people, half of them would say Josh Allen, half would say Jonathan Taylor. Maybe 30-20. 30 in favor of Josh Allen just because of the QB status. And that's kind of where I'm leaning. I feel like Josh just provides way too much value, and to have him as your quarterback one, as your starting QB, you really can't beat that.
Yeah, I would go Josh Allen too. It's a tough decision, but I mean, Josh is just going to have a ton of stats this year that is just going to be so consistent. He's got the run game in. I mean, Josh Allen's a beautiful way to start that draft. And now I'm on the clock. And let's
And
see
Zach
what
went
he's at.
Mahomes. He also went QB right before Cup went.
Yep.
Love it.
And six quarterbacks taken. Usually it's right around 7, 8 by the time it's all said and done. I am also looking QB here because I have a quick turnaround. Um, but to be honest, I'm seeing McCaffrey fall, and it's very, very tempting because I do have that turnaround pick. And towards the back end of a super flex, the strategy I've been going with is to take one QB and then wait. So I'm going to go ahead and take McCaffrey here, and then I'm going to wait to see. And there you go.
Ooh.
No one took any of the quarterbacks, so I'm in a good spot now, and I'm going to go with the goat. I'm going to go with Brady here.
So you'd go Brady over, I guess, the three guys that just went: Hurts, Wilson, and Prescott.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. And the ADP say otherwise, and I hope it stays that way for all the leagues I'm in. But yeah, I'm not passing over Brady, man. He's there to win a chip. He's not messing around. He didn't come back for no reason. I think they got some special going over there. A nice little addition of Russell Gates to help with the Godwin injury if he's out for a week or two, depending on what goes on there. So, yeah, I'm really excited. I know they have been losing some offensive linemen during camp, um, which everybody's probably heard recently, but I have faith.
Oh yeah. So I'm sitting here. I've got two picks back to back, and my first pick. It's a bit of a stretch just because he's not in this top five next available. But I'm shooting for upside here, and I'm going to get my QB2 and Trey Lance. I I wasn't sold before, mostly because I didn't know what the heck was happening with Garoppolo. But now that they've just kind of straight up come out and said, yeah, this is Trey Lance's team, Garoppolo is free to be traded wherever he chooses. But I ever since that I'm all aboard the Trey Lance train, and I will join what three other teams and having our first two QBs already. And I love that mostly because I'm able to still draft DeAndre Swift as my RB1. Oh, this man, let me tell you, it's not because I'm a Lions fan. I love the upside he has. And like the way I draft running backs in these early rounds is I shoot for guys that I see having potential to be the RB1 overall in the year. And I feel like there's quite a few of them, but I feel like Swift kind of is towards the end of that tier. And to have him there, though, I think he has potential to be, like I said, number one running back this season. Um, so I love snagging him, especially third round of a super flex.
Yeah, and you talk about those running backs that have that PPR upside. I believe that there's three of them that are kind of going in that first, second round range, and that's Eckler, McCaffrey, and Swift. They're the only running backs in the NFL where their team will purposely try to get them the ball, whether it's out of the backfield in the slot. There are purposely plays drawn up specifically for them, and those are the three guys with just so much upside. So I'm gonna actually go
Ooh,
Debo here. I
Debo.
really love that value, and then I'm gonna get my second QB in Kirk Cousins before I have to do the long wait here. So I like my two quarterback upsides. I got McCaffrey. Hopefully, could win me the league if he's healthy. And a nice little Debo, happy Debo at that on a contract now.
Yeah, that was kind of what I believe to be holding people back in drafting him,
Hmm.
and making his ADP that first or second round value is because of the contract holdout. You didn't know if he was going to hold out, what he was planning on doing, but now that he's kind of signed, I'm expecting to see him shoot back up a little bit. But I think where you took him is about where I'd take him to, though.
Hmm. And I think in redraft, most likely he's going to go second round somewhere, second or third. I'd be surprised if he made it to the third, but uh, that's usually what happens. Superflex, you kind of just see that normal first round. It literally just bumps one round down, with the exception of the studs, obviously. Um, so yeah, I mean Eckler was a little bit surprising. Not that I wouldn't have taken him there. I would be really happy with Eckler first round in any draft, but um, it was definitely a little bit surprising to see him go above Jefferson in that case,
Hmm.
but that's where you're going to get your studs. That's how you know you've made it as a fantasy player. If you go in the first round of a super flex draft and you're not a quarterback, that's how you know you're a stud.
So I'm sitting here. I talked about this last night. I'm falling in love with this strategy, and especially now that I have Trey Lance, taking George Kittle. Uh, I'm starting to really like early tight end. Maybe not Kelsey in the second, whether that's standard PPR leagues or super flex. Not in love with that second round value, but when it comes to this like late fourth, early fifth, I certainly do not mind grabbing some Kittle, maybe snagging a Pitts or Andrews a round before. I'm starting to fall in love with the second pick. I'm between taking a receiver or a running back, and I think I'm going to take a running back just because after these few guys, there's a huge dip, in my opinion, in running back value. So I'm going to take the guy with guaranteed touches, and that's Zeke Elliott. I
Oh wow.
how I It's amazing that he's falling kind of this far. I kind of get it, just because people are like, they're kind of bored of him. But he was still, I think, the RB4 last year, and with that, I mean, to get him in the fifth round as my RB2, I will happily take that. And Dallas still is very committed to him.
Yeah, it's honestly ridiculous if you want to call it even disrespectful. The way this man has fallen, but I mean, everything happens like that kind of the month before the fantasy season, and then we could go to do our drafts in a few weeks here, and he can move up. It's just surprising that he started so low, in my opinion, considering how consistent he is. Um, we all kind of knew after his first 2 seasons in the league that he wasn't going to really give you those 30, 40 point games anymore. But in terms of consistency, man, oh man, like that's just a consistent running back that may not win you the league, but is never going to lose you the league. And why not pass up on him? That was your second running back taken in the fifth round next to guys like David Montgomery, who's kind of shaky. Um, but yeah, that's a beautiful pick. And right before you make these picks, I'm just gonna go grab a charger back or quick.
Oh
I'll
yeah,
be right back here.
yeah. Don't worry, I got you covered. So, oh, Zach with Matt Ryan as his QB2. I like that. So I got these two back to back. I'm in need of a receiver. So quite honestly, I am personally eyeing two of them. Just because I really like these guys in this cluster. We're going right here. So I'm going to take. Ooh, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go back to back. 2021 Chicago Bears receivers in Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney. Uh, Robinson, I'm falling for the training camp hype. He had plenty of highlights that came out yesterday, and that was enough for me to fall in love with him. He's still got it from what I can see, and just knowing that he's in an offense that loves to pass now. Matthew Stafford is going to get him the ball plenty of times. And then Mooney is one of my favorite mid-round receiver targets. What he was able to do last year was lovely. I had him on a few teams. And then you add in that it's just him this year. I mean, Allen Robinson didn't really take anything away from him last year, but Mooney is in for a huge target share this year, and I happy to get that as my receiver too.
Yeah, and that's the most important thing. It's target share is a fun because sometimes it doesn't mean anything, and sometimes it means everything. And I think that comes down to the talent of the player. And in this case, Mooney has the talent to be that standalone guy, such as you saw Amon-Ra St. Brown take over last year, such as you saw Rashad Bateman do last year when they had to. So another young guy there, and I'm going to see the targets. He's probably going to see 100 plus in that offense. Completion percentage is a big question mark, but give him the opportunity with some good talent. I'll always take that pick.
Talk about your two picks. Talk about your Harrison Thomas back to back.
Yeah, so I was looking running back again. I kind of still like Harris. There's a lot of pre-camp news about Ramondre, and I think Ramondre will be involved. Um, but Harris is the guy there. He's still the downhill runner. Ramondre, I could see taking over like a more short yardage or third down situation. He's got definitely better hands. I think that's undisputed. So I really like that consistency. Harris, I believe, finished right outside the top 10 last year in PPR. I had, 14 last year. Um, that could drop a little bit. There was obviously a lot of big running back injuries, but as long as he stays in that RB2 range, I'll take him, especially because I took Gibson before and I'm not totally sold on Gibson yet, especially because they have some younger guys there and the team in general. It's obviously playing in a rough division that usually beats up on them every year. So Harris is kind of just like my safe goat there to take that extra running back. And Thomas, another receiver that I think is going to see a lot of targets. That team is not going to be a good team. And Jameis, man, I hope he's flinging it this year. That's all I could say.
And you know he will be.
Hmm.
So I'm taking Kareem Hunt. I just feel like he's a fantastic. He's consistently been the past few years that he's been in Cleveland a great RB2, and I know. I know some people hate how much he vultures touchdowns in the red zone, but I taking him as a Hunt owner, I love it. To have him on my roster is going to be exciting, especially as my RB3. This he's one of my favorite one of my favorite mid round running back targets. So I'll eat that up all day. And then my second pick here. I'm snagging. Ooh, you know what? I was gonna go Hunter Renfro, but I went Gabe Davis just because I have Josh Allen. Uh,
Mm.
I I personally see them both kind of on that same tier, but because I had Allen, kind of gave him that little bit of an edge. So Gabe Davis, I loved him last year. I will constantly say, even as Isaiah McKenzie gets hype, that uh, they should have been Gabe Davis and McKenzie should have been the receivers 2 and 3 in this offense, and now it's starting to look like they will be.
Mhm.
And I'm excited about that. So I'll take Davis, and this I probably would have taken him this late without the 5 touchdown playoff game. Either way, love him. I'm excited for him. I think he's going to have a good year.
Yeah, I think as well. You can't go wrong with that pick just because he's on such a good team and the quarterback is obviously very, very elite. Hunter Renfro, I mean, it's not much of a different situation, but obviously that team definitely has struggled over the past few years. They play in an extremely tough division now. So it's going to be interesting. I would have went Davis too there just for his upside. I think that he's really going to take that like next year leap this year with Josh Allen, seeing especially what he could do when it matters. That's always a trust that's really great to have between two guys. So um, yeah, so moving on here, this one's pretty easy for me to be honest. I'm gonna go Adam Thielen. Even Adam Thielen, they say he's an old receiver, gets hurt every year, but his value is absolutely insane. Going into last year, I believe I'm not even sure if he did miss a ton of time last year, if any at all. I think it was towards the end of the year, but wide receiver 28 last year. And at this point, you're seeing a lot of wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4s going, and it gives me that stack. So that was a no brainer for me. And I think I'm going to pivot and try to get my first tight end here. Um, Two guys I really like, or actually a few in this range, to be honest. Irv Smith is creeping up there, but I did just stack Thielen, so I'm going to stay away. Um, I honestly love Gasecki, Komet, and Albert O. And I think the tight end that's going to see the most targets in this case is probably Komet. Just based on that offense not having that true guy yet, even though Mooney is going to be the guy. I think the whole year they're going to be trying to find a number two, whether it's Velas Jones, Pringle. They got a few other guys there, but Komet I feel like is going to be consistent on that team, and that's why I went with him there.
Yeah, I really like Komet. I just because he's going to be that second receiving option in this offense, and we saw what he did with Fields last year. He had a pretty good run, so
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
excited for what we could see from him there. Ooh, this is the part of the draft that doesn't excite me because these are all guys that I'm just not super excited about. But if I had to pick anybody, uh, yeah, let's do it. Wide receiver 1 for the Packers, hard to beat, especially this late in the draft. I think everybody's just kind of. I think he's slipping this late just because people just aren't sold on him, and rightfully so. He hasn't really. He's been good, but not enough to show like Devonte Adams level of great. So I think that's
yeah,
kind of why people are a little scared off of him. And I don't know. 10th round, I feel like is a fantastic spot to take him because you're taking him as a bench player. And if he turns out to be the number one option in this Packers offense, heck yeah, then that's a steal. So happily taking him there. And then, ooh, I want to go. I do. I want to go running back. And I'm eyeing take Melvin Gordon primarily as a handcuff. I mean, not my handcuff, but he's a handcuff. He'll have a few touches that are meaningful, but not enough to feel comfortable starting him any given week. Not and hopefully this doesn't happen, but not unless Javante goes down. Uh, but
right.
really not hoping for that.
Yeah, no, and that's a perfect range in my opinion to take that backup running back, as you see here as well. About 3 rounds before in round 9, you had Pollard go, you had James Cook go, followed by Stevenson in the next round. Guys like Rashad Penny, who are the starter, but not really, because I strongly believe that Ken Walker will take over. Um, and then you got Gordon down there, Michael Carter, like a bunch of guys that are really the next up, and that's kind of what you're looking for at this point. Yourself as well as me both had three running backs going into the 11th round here, so that's really what you're looking for. And I'm going to look here as well just to get that backup running back here, high upside. I'm looking for. And there's a few guys, honestly. I mean, I love Ronald Jones. I think that, God forbid anything happens to CEH, he'll be the all down back with McKinnon taking third down roles, or not all down back, first down back, rather. Um, but it's really hard at this point to pass up on Madison. So I'm going to snag Madison there. I think, God forbid anything goes down with Dalvin Cook, they truly have never been a committee running back team, so he's really going to step into that role and take over. Um, and I'm going to cap off my draft here. Usually, right around this range is maybe, well, most of the time you'll have 15, 16 rounds, probably take a quarterback later.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go Jamison Williams here, man. I've been saying this all off season, and I know Kyle. Obviously, you watch these guys closely, and we're all gonna get a close look on Hard Knocks coming up next week, I believe already.
Yep.
Um, but I truly believe that Jameson is a more talented receiver than Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I am really, really excited to see what he could do on the football field. I just hope he's healthy at this point because I really think he can take over that role that kind of just fell to St. Brown last year. Not that he didn't deserve it and he didn't earn it. He obviously did. He was great in the second half of the year last year. But I think Williams comes in and he can kind of take away all those eyes that are like, wow, St. Brown's really good. And they'll be like, wow, no, Williams is really, really good. So that's kind of a talent pick there, but I think he'll have a role eventually on that team without a doubt.
Yeah. I once he makes the once he finally starts getting into games and start moving and grooving with this offense, I think he'll definitely have a role. Uh, so here I am, last pick of our little fun little mock, and I'm gonna take James Robinson. I feel like he's healthy. It seems he's killing it in training camp, as far as I've heard. Um, just doing his thing. He seems to be healthy. He's kind of on track to be back to play in time. And in the 12th round, I'm not really taking too big of a gamble on if he's not. And sure enough, if he comes back and it's just like a week 6 start, then I just slot him into my IR. And I've got a guy who he's going to have a role in this offense just because it's Doug Peterson. And Doug Peterson can't not play just one running back. So we'll see a bunch of Robinson and ETN and whoever else RBs are in that offense. You're going to see them get more touches than they should. So kind of snagging Robinson also as kind of a security blanket to ETN, because who knows, maybe he struggles or he falters a little bit, can't come back week 1.
Yeah,
Robinson, randomly could.
right, and that's a great point. I mean, if you look at what Peterson tried to establish with the Eagles, is he did attempt, I'd call it an attempt, barely, to get Miles Sanders that lean running back role, and I mean he had injuries every year, kind of haltering him, but um, as soon as Sanders went down, it was kind of a free for all in that backfield. Whereas if anything happens to ETN, it's gonna just be James Robinson. I don't think that they would look to do that at that point in this kind of offense that they're about to run, which I feel like is going to be very, very similar. Obviously, a little bit different. They have different personnel and abilities on the offensive end, but yeah, I like the James Robinson pick, man. You never know with Peterson. Um, like I said, he's tried to make Sanders the lead back, and obviously just couldn't get it done. So hopefully, maybe with this new offense, he's able to. But if not, I mean, value like Gordon and Robinson, man, to end the draft, that's pretty beautiful, if I must say.
All right, Mike, I ask you this every week. Who's your favorite pick? Who's had your
Favorite
favorite
pick?
draft?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think personally, my favorite pick of this draft is probably Adam Thielen in the ninth. Like I really love this guy, man. Like a wide receiver two that late, just veteran experience in a team that's about to be throwing the ball more, especially when I took Cousins in the fourth round. That's just a beautiful stack. Thielen really is falling in these drafts, and I think it's just because he's 32, 33, 31. He's getting up there in age. He's kind of had minor injuries every year. But yeah, give me that upside, man. God forbid something ever happens to Jefferson, um, or anything like that. I mean, Thielen's putting up numbers with him having like career numbers. So, I mean, yeah, Thielen's probably my favorite pick. What about you, Kyle?
I'm stuck between the combo of Matt Ryan or Trevor Lawrence in the sixth, being this a super flex. I feel like those, especially Matt Ryan, but Lawrence could also have the same kind of year as Ryan, where they just kind of have uh, maybe even a like a top 12 fantasy performance this year. One of them could sneak it out. I could see it. And as a tight end or QB2 in both of their offenses, I feel like that's a great snag because then earlier on they were able to kind of fill up their team. But I think I'm also going to mention Ryan Tannehill over in the 10th round. I feel like that's super late for a QB who we've seen be productive and a top 10 QB, and at least in fantasy. So I like that pick. Who knows? I think they're going to rely on Henry just as much as they have in the past few years. He's going to get all the touches, but who knows? Maybe Tannehill kind of sneaks back and has a little bit more relevance this year.
Yeah, I'd also like to say I didn't know that you were talking about the entire draft. I thought we were singling out on our team. So
Oh,
I
on
know
I see, I
I'm
see.
very, very biased now, um, but yeah, no, that's a great pick too. You know, I was just talking last night when we were recording about how I took Tannehill last year as kind of my late QB flyer. Um, and I had too high of expectations, obviously. He had that fluke year 2 years ago where he put up career numbers. The team was exactly the same going into last year. He still had Henry for multiple weeks before he got hurt. And for some reason, that offense just could not produce the same. And I know A.J. Brown had some injuries as well, but while they were there, they just were not putting up numbers. So it's a little bit of a question mark, but for that late, and obviously looking at the board here, second to last QB taken next to Danny Dimes, I mean, you can't go wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
If we're talking board wise, favorite pick, I also got to point out I really like what Zach did with Deshaun Watson. Third QB, why not take a flyer on him? You know, the NFL, I believe, is probably going to push for a full year suspension, if not very, very close to it. But at this point, I mean, why not take a flyer on him? If he comes back, you're going to have a stud super flex, and you won't really have to worry about Matt Ryan giving you dud weeks. Um, I probably would have taken him a little bit later, maybe around the 10th or 11th, because in redraft, I think he goes even later than that, probably around like 11, 12, 13. Um, but you never know. So I kind of like that pick as well for looking at the board here.
Yeah, I was gonna say I really like I I think team wise, if I had to pick a favorite team, a favorite sliver of team, it's Team 12. I love that start. Uh, Najee, Javante, and then to have both Jefferson and Evans. That's a beautiful start. And with Schultz, oh, that's a beautiful squad. Even if your QBs aren't fantastic, I
Yeah, no,
I'm in
I,
love with it.
it's funny too. Team nine is really the only other team that kind of waited on their two QBs, or Team six as well. But I like Team 12's quarterbacks better than Team six and Team nines, and they took them earlier. Um, I kind of like that combo. Kind of like you said, it's really Tannehill. Just not that Tannehill. I was just talking trash on him, but he's very consistent. He's not going to get you those high numbers, but very consistent. Where yeah, I'd rather play Tannehill over a flex that might get me 10 points, you know? Um, so yeah, I really like Team 12 as well. They really went really heavy to start Jefferson, Najee, Javante, and Mike Evans to top off their power four. Got a great tight end in Schultz late. Jacobs, man, Edwards, Hilaire, like that team is pretty deep. And even handcuffed Hilaire with Jones. Beautiful, man. Gallup
Yeah,
returning. Three receivers might be a little bit concerning now that I look at it. He only has three, but I mean, damn, what a combo, man! And obviously, receiver is easiest position to pick up off the wire. So, yeah, I'd have to say it's my favorite team too. Do
yeah,
not lie.
and it's something else to note is that it is super flex, but you don't have to start two quarterbacks. So their flex, I mean, it's only two running back, two receiver is how I set up this mock. So
Mhm.
they like their flex could easily be Josh Jacobs or Clyde or even James Cook. Like if one of Mac Jones and Tannehill is just turns out to be a dud, you don't have to commit to them. But
Right.
you could just I feel like it's hard to go into super flex and not think that your super flex has to be a quarterback when you could just say no, I'm just going to roll with one and take some backups later on. Um and then who knows, maybe like Daniel Jones turns out to be fantastic this year in a new offense. Like you just kind of take those flyers. That's always a fantastic strat to kind of give a shot. Um Never
Right.
hurts. Never hurts to try something different. Take
Yeah.
advantage of the
Kind of.
early positional value.
Yeah, exactly. You replace that with positional value, and even for those late quarterbacks as well. I mean, if you don't get them at that point, honestly, Jones, I think is still consistent enough that I'd probably play every week in a super flex, unless he has a guy like, well, that team's a little bit different. They have Pollard as their RB2. I was going to say if Pollard was a flex, he could potentially be starting over Jones in some weeks, but after that tier, it's kind of like guys like Mariota. And at that point, yeah, I'd probably look to play a flex player over that second QB. So it kind of all depends what falls to you. But for the most part, I mean, overall, looking at this draft, just to wrap up here, I love the double quarterback start. I feel like it makes sense in some spots, very early and kind of towards the middle of the draft. Towards the end of the draft, however, I don't really think it's that important to take that first round flyer on a QB, especially when that tier is kind of already into that second tier. I really do like the strategy take one in the first two rounds and then wait. And I could have waited later than Cousins as well, but Cousins was the last guy in that tier that I liked there.
Hmm.
Um, so I went ahead and took him. But yeah, I really do love that double quarterback start. It's very interesting to get two stud quarterbacks and then just fill in behind it. And most of those teams looking at them here did pretty damn good doing it. Especially you, obviously, but even Team Seven and Team Eight, not bad at all, man. They got some studs on those teams that they filled in behind, and just having that consistency where you don't have to worry about playing the wire as much, getting, oh, I need this, I need that. It kind of
Yeah.
just saves you, guarantees that you're going to have that super flex every week. So I really do like that strategy, beginning and middle of the draft.
Yeah, it's nice to kind of go into the rest of your draft knowing you've got your quarterbacks locked down, but at the same time, I can't imagine going into a week facing Justin Jefferson, Najee Harris, Javante Williams, and Mike Evans. Like I feel like that's more horrifying to see on a lineup than personally like Justin Herbert or Matt Stafford and the rest
Yeah,
of that
I'd
squad.
agree.
But it's all about how you draft. This draft was good. 12 had just a fantastic draft. I'm impressed. Uh, but either way, Mike, I hope you liked your team. I hope you like that you didn't have the best team because I think we both lost to Team 12. So,
Yeah.
congratulations, Team 12. You were best team of the week. You've earned it. You did a fantastic draft. Um, Mike, do you have anything else you want to add before we
No,
wrap up
man.
here?
I mean, this is the beauty of Superflex. I
We've got
truly love
the
it.
yeah. Oh, it's a beautiful thing. But we've got the Hall of Fame game tonight.
We do. Jaguars and
Raiders?
I think so. Yes. So yeah, I mean, obviously those starters, I believe, do they even come in this game? Do they get a
No.
drive?
I don't think
Okay.
anybody gets I don't think anybody meaningful touches the ball tonight. I mean, who
Right.
knows? There might be something
Yeah.
different. There might be some stars coming out tonight.
Yeah. Who
But
knows? I
everybody
honestly,
takes it
I'd throw
differently.
ETN out there, man. first live game situation, I would want to see him take a drive at least.
I'd
Like
be
you got to get
surprised
that
if they
guy
do.
touches.
I'd be surprised if they do this week. I think they might be a little bit more hesitant. Maybe like week 2 preseason, maybe even week 1. Give him a shot. See some touches, but nothing. Not enough to put him in danger.
Yeah, yeah, never that. You don't need that at the Hall of Fame game. That would be an all-time coaching blunder to have a star get hurt at the Hall of Fame game. But yeah, that's
Although
that's
I
my
don't
old
think
stomping grounds, man. I used to play at that stadium in college, so I know they
that's awesome.
renovated it now. I'm excited to see what it looks like on TV and stuff.
That's awesome. All right, Mike, we got to get our day started here. Uh,
Oh yeah.
thanks, thanks for tuning in. We will be live probably again next week, either Wednesday or Thursday, or whenever Mike tells me to jump on is when I'll jump on. Uh, look out for that. We'll be live again next week, doing a fun little mock draft. I don't know what format next week we'll do. Maybe standard. Maybe we'll shake things up and do four quarterback. Who knows? Uh, but either way, I'm Kyle. This is my friend Mike. We are First Seed Fantasy, and don't forget, you'll see it over there on the far, I guess, left of your screen. Use code First Seed on Underdog. Jump into some best balls. Get a free deposit match. You deposit up to $100, you get a free $100 back, and you just have fun with it. We've been mocking on Underdog or using it as a mock draft, but you're actually drafting, and it's a lot of fun. Um, but yeah, tune in. I think we've got a video dropping again tomorrow, just about our favorite draft strategies and our league settings. Tune into that and tune in next week. Uh, have a great day, Mike, and everybody else watching.
You too, man. Everybody enjoy. We will see you tomorrow as well.
Have a great day.
All right.